What's up, Internet? You're tuning in episode 103 of Nintendo Noise, Flip Screen Games' weekly Nintendo podcast. I'm your host, Pete and Bessie, joined as always by my very good friend and co-host, Miss Sierra Plus Ultra.
Sup, Pete? How's it going?
Yo, Sierra, it's I want to say that it's going good, right? Because we got a Pokemon Presents today. Normally,
Yeah.
for the two of us, that would be cause for celebration, and I mean, it wasn't the worst thing we've ever seen, but.
Certainly not.
But
But
I want to ask if you share my sentiment that I am surprised how long a Pokemon Presents this was for how very, very little it felt like they had to say.
that was the longest half hour of my entire life.
I was just waiting for whatever the one more thing was going to be. And it was like, man, this felt like this all could have just been Twitter push outs like they
Yeah.
do, you know?
I'm sorry, I just really know his name. But he introduces the last segment by going, "And finally." And it was 9:25. I'm like, 10 minutes? 10 minutes? This better be fucking inventing video games too. Like, for it to take up 10 minutes. But I mean, there were some moments, but, you know, I feel the same way. Should have been I think some things I would have been more eager to see as just, like, stuff on social media, but we'll get into it for sure.
Yeah. It's not like it was devoid of any interesting moments, but it was certainly something where like I about halfway through I was just like, man, like there have been plenty of things where I've been like, wow, kind of surprised that they just put this out on Twitter. Why wasn't this in a presents of some kind? And this is just the total inverse of that feeling of like, yeah, this felt like this whole presentation could have been an email, you know?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Could have been an email, Slack message.
But
I know.
we'll get into some of what we did see, because like you said, it's not all for nothing. But I think the main event, um, I guess, kind of unfortunately, was kind of another update about the Scarlet Violet DLC, which like
Yeah.
makes sense. Like that's obviously their big play this year. That's the big game they want us to be focusing on from Pokemon. But like I feel like I've seen a story trailer that's more or less the same content with just a few new things peppered in, like at the
Yeah,
third time now, and it's kind of like, when is enough enough?
right, like, when they show, like, the DLC and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really does feel like recycled shots and then they tack on new stuff. Like, just get to the meat. Like, I mean, we saw some good stuff, but and some weird stuff, but
Yeah.
I just it was just felt like a drag. The whole thing felt so dragged out.
Yeah, like I mean, looking at the trailer that I've got pulled up for the YouTube folks, right? It's like a 4-minute trailer, and it's
Mhm.
like so much of it is stuff I've seen already, Like, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, I know they introduced more of the story, right? Like, we kind of knew what the story was, but we got more of the characters that are going to be the players. We got more looks at the biomes and everything, right? Especially for like part 2, where they showed that like interior area with like there's this tropical area where, I'm guessing we're going to be able to catch, sun and moon Pokemon and stuff like that. And,
Yeah.
like you could get a sense of what that content looks like a little bit more moment to moment, which is good, but it's like, did I need to have that whole legend about the 3 heroic Pokemon, the loyal 3 that like I've had this thing with this mask shown to me so many
Yes.
times already?
Yes. And it's just like I I mean, for me as someone who's definitely gonna play it no matter what, like, I don't need them to really hammer home the exposition of the DLC and, like, the story beats.
You're in
Li
already.
Yeah, I'm already in, so I always wonder, like, who they're thinking of when they put together these directs.
I guess the thing is, and I think that's an interesting question, right? Because I guess you have to imagine that like they make every one of these things as if this could be the first one that somebody watches, which, like, fair enough. But, like, are those people going out of their way to watch a Pokemon Presents?
I
You
was
know,
gonna say, like, what a crazy way to convert somebody.
right?
Surely someone will sit through this half-hour presentation and download everything. Um, yeah, when I think of, like, events like Presents, like, and they, like, introduce like, this is, like, a quick aside, but, like and they introduce, like, the new anime, like, mobile games, blah, blah, blah. I guess they're not really thinking of like, dedicated, like, hardcore gamers, and they're thinking about, like,
Yeah,
the wider market.
for sure.
Um, so I guess why they make these decisions, and so I can see it from that angle, but yeah, like, I've already keep showing me new things about the DLC, don't reintroduce old stuff. I don't know. I feel like it's just not needed.
Yeah, I guess my beef is less with this specific presentation as much as it is that, like, we've had 2 before it already.
Yeah, on the
You know, or
DLC
like if
especially.
this was not the how manyth time I've already seen this stuff, I think I would feel less, I jaded about it, I guess, right? Like, we
Yeah,
are coming at it from this kind of, like, cynical, like, we're here talking about every one of these trailers that they drop, so of course we're gonna get nitpicky of, like, "I've seen this before, I've seen that before," but
yeah,
that speaks, I guess, to, like, how they have to handle these marketing beats where there are folks like us that are dialed in and paying attention to every single thing, and then the folks that, like, have probably not seen any of this at all yet,
right.
right? And
Yeah,
this might be their first look at it, which,
yeah,
like, fair enough, but I guess I do just wish that maybe they would put a little bit more in for the folks that are watching everything and, like, giving us a little bit more to get into, and I mean, I guess they did, right? They showed some new Pokemon. We learned, about who the players are gonna be in the plot and everything. So
yeah,
I don't know. I guess I don't know what more they could have for us if not this.
absolutely. So, there's that, fair enough, but, sometimes I just
So
can't help how I feel, like, walking away from something like that, you
yeah,
know?
it's a shame because, like, you I don't know. I feel like they should be able to have us walk away feeling a little higher. And, I feel like I'm an easy one to get excited for something if I'm into it. And the fact that, like, you know, this is now the third time I've seen this stuff, and it's like I'm not interested at all. It's just kind of like I feel like comparing it to what else is out there this year, it's like hard for me to be like, yeah, like this is the thing that I'm hungry for when, like, we've got Super Mario Brothers Wonder or RPG or, or again, even stacking it up against stuff like Pikmin and, like Tears
Yeah,
of the Kingdom, it's like it just doesn't feel like it's on that same level. And
right.
it is DLC, sure, but, like, we get excited about big DLCs when they hit, you know?
Yeah. I liked Crown Tundra and Isle of Armor. Heck.
So, like, you said you're definitely in on these. Like, are you excited at this point? Like, did this do anything for you to, like, get you kind of like in the mood considering it's so close now, or do you just kind of have that feeling of like, well, it's the next thing, so of course I'm gonna jump in on it.
Yeah, it's more like it's the next thing, so of course I'm gonna get it, but I think I'm gonna like it more once I'm actually playing it. I think they're purposely
Yeah,
just, like, just leaking a little bit at a time, which is,
that's reasonable.
fine.
Like, I definitely hear that. Like, I feel like there are certain games that, like, don't preview as well as they just play, right? And it's like,
Yeah.
maybe we don't need a 3rd trailer for this, and, like,
Yeah.
that's fine, right? Like, that doesn't mean that, that the content's not there.
Totally. Yeah.
But, I did like the new Pokemon that we saw, like, the I thought the one was very silly, which was the new, Applin, evolution,
Yeah, I was
Difflin,
like, "Who
which
is
is
this
the
little guy?"
caramel apple. I was like, "That's cute." Oh,
I
that's a
love
good one.
him.
I like that one a lot. But and then, we had, I'm gonna be honest with you, Sarah, I don't know how to say this Pokemon's name. It's Duraludon, I guess? I've never had to say it out
Y
loud before. It's the
I think
dragon
that's
that looks
it.
like a lighter, you know?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
like, he's got a new evolution that's pretty sick, it's kinda like a torch lighter. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's just another big building.
But,
Building
like,
dragon.
I feel like the one that was getting the most attention from me at least, and I feel like is already getting memed is the new Raikou paradox form. What'd you think about
Why?
what'd you think about that?
They took a fucking cat and were just like with his neck. Like, why? What is the anthropological reasoning behind this? What please someone please explain what prehistorical creature fucking looked like this that was a cat and
So
not a dinosaur?
I saw somebody say, right? Because like I remember we talked about the like when they did Suicune, right? And it's like it's a raptor. Like why like it's so weird that it's a raptor, but that's what it
Oh
is.
yeah, that's right.
So like
Yeah.
I saw somebody on Twitter say that like, oh, they're dinosaurs, right? Like this one's a brontosaurus, that one's a raptor, so clearly Entei is gonna be a dinosaur as well. And it's like, fair enough, but that's not a it looks like a giraffe. Like, let's be
It's so
real. It's
yeah,
a
it's
giraffe.
so weird. I mean, yeah, okay, we all came from birds and then subsequently dinosaurs. So I guess that's the or was it fish? Oh, okay, we're not gonna get into that,
Sierra, you
but
gotta stop bringing up.
like
The Catholics are already coming after you for eating communion wafers. You can't be talking about evolution now. They're gonna come for you.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, true. So, yeah, can't let you guys get caught in the crossfire.
Number one enemy of the church, Sierra Plus Ultra.
I love that. I need a dad hat that says that. Number 1 enemy of the church.
I like that you said it's a fishing hat. You put the little Jesus fish on there too,
Yeah.
right? So like people think that it's a religious hat first.
Yeah, oh my god, I love that. Please help. Um, but, yeah, I guess it really boils down to the whole prehistoric motif, but, I fucking hate it. I really I'm sorry. I
This is
can't even look at it and be like, "This is cool."
this is one where it is so decidedly not cool, but it's so bad I think it's funny, and I'm like, you know what? All right, like
I
I don't
know.
hate him that much.
We thought Long Executor was bad. Now here
I
we
like
are.
him too. I like him too.
I like him. That makes sense to me though, because it's like a
He's a
big or a
tree.
palm tree.
Yeah.
There are no cats that look like that. Whatever Raikou is now.
Yet. That's the
Yet
power of evolution, you know?
we should be fearful of cats evolved to have really long necks.
That's how they're gonna take us all down.
Oh, yeah.
Then they'll finally be able to get up on those top shelves, you know?
Yeah, they say I read somewhere once, this is no source. I don't know where I read this, but I'm sorry I'm derailing, but really quick. If cats were the size of like oh no, I'm thinking of spiders. I think it's like if cats or spiders were the size of lions, they would try to kill us,
That makes
but
sense. Yeah.
makes sense to me,
Yeah,
as
we'd
they
be prey
should.
sized at that point.
Yeah,
That's my worst nightmare, by the way.
being mauled
By
by
a spider?
natu
Yeah.
oh, spiders are terrible,
Yeah, I'd
yes.
rather be killed by a lion than a spider. That's fine. Like if I
Yeah,
gotta get
maybe it's
eaten
quick.
alive, like I would way rather just get mauled to death by some large mammal for sure.
Yeah, at least they're cuter.
Yeah, and it's like they're gonna it's they'll be pretty quick with it, right? The
Yeah.
spider is gonna like suck out its guts and everything. I can't be dealing with that.
Yeah.
That's a lot. But we buried the lead a little bit, I guess, with the part one thing. The one significant piece of information they had for us was the release date, right? September 13th. So
Yeah.
right around the corner. I just I there's no way I'm getting to this. If I get to this, it's gonna have to be like what I did with Scarlet and Violet itself, and I'll play it like early next year. Because I
Yeah.
just September is so stacked right now. I just cannot
Absolutely.
imagine it.
Yeah. Well, I will let you know how it is.
You're gonna have to. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna give me FOMO and I'm gonna buy it and I'm gonna start a sixth game and it's gonna be terrible. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Just lie to me, Sierra. Tell me it's not worth
Okay. Will do.
playing.
Anything to save my pal Pete money.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
You got it.
Thank you for keeping me dishonest in this scenario. I will say, the stuff they had to show for part 2, there was some stuff that definitely I thought was interesting. Like I said, there's, like, the biome thing inside the dome where it's, like, these 4 different environments that, I guess are gonna obviously have some interesting opportunities for new Pokemon. But then, like, there's a whole thing with, like, this student battle league that, like, feels, like, vaguely reminiscent of, like, the battle tower, and then there's, like, an Elite Four and everything, and I'm like, "Okay, like, that seems kinda cool." I could see myself getting into that.
Yeah. We'll see how what that does. I think that, I'll probably do it for the sake of the story beat, but I'm more interested in, like, the exploration for sure.
Were there any Pokemon in the trailer that you were, like, excited to see back in the fold?
I think I saw Skarmory. There's a
Yeah.
Skarmory. Yeah, so yeah, Skarmory is a big one.
Yeah, that was up there for me
Yeah.
too.
Mhm.
Um, that's like such an interesting one because it's like they showed off something, I forget what they were called, but it was like oh, I guess it was Mochi, and you could use them to, like,
Yes,
reset, your Pokemon's IVs and then, like, set them by feeding them those, which is, like, awesome, love
that's
that.
wild. Yeah.
Really, really cool feature. Um, so, like, that kinda had me in the competitive mindset, and then I'm like, "Oh, Skarmory's coming back, we got a new defensive core out here, okay, okay, pretty
Right?
interesting." So
Yeah.
I'm down for that. Maybe, they were talking about worlds a little bit. It's getting me in the mood again. It's like, all right, okay. That is
Mhm.
at least even if I don't play the DLC at launch, all these new Pokemon come into the decks. That's gonna make a big difference. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So no, here's another thing that they talked about that I'm interested in hearing what you think about. So like there was a moment after they talked about like okay, part 1's coming, like here's the big breakdown of part 2. Here's some of the new information or I'm sorry, part 1. Here's some new information about part 2. And then they're like and then after that, you're going to go back to Palladia and you're going to get to the bottom of the secret of Area 0, right? Which is the name of the whole DLC. Like
Yeah.
what what do you think the vibe is on that? Because like, I gotta be honest with you, until today, I kind of forgot that there was like an unresolved story beat there where it's like, oh yeah, there's just still this big hole in the middle of the
Oh,
country
yeah.
and the monsters are just coming out of. Are we doing anything about that? Like,
Yeah, someone died here, it's totally cool.
yeah, like what the hell?
I only remembered about that because, I was playing last week on stream, and I'm, like, looking at that cave where you can find, Moon Guy. I forget Salamence's name, but, uh, Roaring Moon sorry, everyone,
I'll look
but,
it up. Hold on. I can't remember either. These names are ridiculous. I
I know. But,
think it is Roaring
there's
Moon.
that, like, pentagram looking thing on the cave floor,
Yeah,
and
it's
I'm
Roaring Moon. You're right.
oh, okay. Yeah,
You nailed it.
I did remember. So, yeah, I was like, "Oh, yeah, that's right." Like, we were never really told what this is. So that's, very interesting to me that we'll finally get something on that. So I think that that'll be cool to look forward to once I've completed part 1 and part 2.
Yeah, I'm interested because like I so like later on they were kind of like showing off some of the new animated stuff and they were showing off
Mm.
that Palladian Wild series, which is kind of like it's gonna be like it's coming out on September 6th, if you're interested, folks.
Oh, yes.
And it's on like the YouTube channel where like all their like most fire animation goes for whatever reason.
Yeah, for real.
Like, they put all these, like, really sweet shorts out, and, like, when they showed that, I found myself thinking about that compared to, like, the story stuff that they're showing in the DLC and that they've set up, and I'm like, "I wish I was as excited for this as I am for the YouTube short," you know? Like,
Yeah.
I and I like that mystery, right? Like, I'm like, "Oh, I kind of forgot that was even a mystery." Like, why didn't that stick with me more? Because like, they're doing the things I want them to do, right? And, like, trying to, like, shoot for these, like, bigger stories or, like, even, like, the DLC with, like, the whole 3 legendary Pokemon heroes or whatever. That feels like a plot that I could see in a Pokemon movie or,
Yeah.
like, a filler arc or something like that, you know?
Um, I was just thinking and it's like by the time you get to that story beat, at the end of the game, I'm trying so hard to keep this spoiler free, but it's difficult.
Yeah.
In case anyone has not played the end of Scarlet and Violet, by the time you get to that like final story beat, it feels like um, you know, it ramps up considerably because you're getting a decent amount of character building of the folks relevant to that ending,
Yeah.
that family leading up, but, like, you get a huge heel turn at the end that, like, you basically never could have prepared for, and, like, uh, the way it kinda ends off feels pretty final. So, like and there's, like, some open-ended stuff, but, like, they don't really do anything to, like, leave a cliffhanger of, like, make you want to know more about, like, why any of that even happened in the first place or, like,
Yeah. It's a good point.
what yeah, like, so
It feels like they kinda just, like, put a bow on it, and it's kinda like, "Okay, we're done with that now." It's like,
yes,
"Okay."
exactly. I feel like if they're gonna keep adding on to that story and they had that planned out, I think it would have benefited them more in the beginning of the game to do even more establishing shots and cutscenes related to, like, just the sheer mystery, just to make you more invested. It doesn't have to even be, like I don't know, like I don't know. I just feel like they could have done more. Sorry for not articulating, better on
No,
it,
I
but
I I'm
yeah,
I'm right there with you. I
if you
totally get
got
what
my
you're
drift,
saying.
yeah.
I feel like it's funny because I remember, like, bickering with Steve about this in the context of Arceus, but, like, I think with this game having such a more dramatic focus on story, and I think it being the first time where they ever even came close to getting it right, you know?
Yeah,
Obviously, a lot of folks, really like Gen 5 story with Black and White, that there was, like, some effort at, like, social commentary about the world and evaluating, like, the relationship humans have with Pokemon, and then it kinda
yeah,
hand waves it away a little bit at the end, unfortunately, but I know that gets a lot of love because it actually tells a story, right?
yeah,
And, like, we've talked about how, like, this game does actually have beats that are, like, emotional and feel, like, earned, like the whole subplot with, the, uh the Herba Mystica and everything, and, like, how that connects to, the the heel turn and everything that you discussed, which, I don't wanna spoil for anyone if they haven't gotten there. Like, it has some weight to it, right? Like, it's not the most, incredible narrative, right? But, like, by
yeah,
the Pokemon standard, it's like, "Oh, this is pretty solid." And
yeah,
I have to wonder if these stories would hit harder if they had voice acting, right? Where it's like, even if it was the same script and the
yeah,
same level of, like, kind of surface level stuff, but just had a really committed, strong voice performance, like, I wonder if we might not, have that draw to it a little bit more.
yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll never know.
We'll never know. Well, maybe someday, maybe the next one we'll finally get
Hopefully, they
something.
change their mind.
But, I before we get to, I guess, like, the non-Scarlet and Violet stuff, because 'cause we've been on it for a minute, the last kind of, update that we got there, I guess not even last, they started with this earlier, was the event that they're doing with Mew and Mewtwo, which is pretty cool. There is a mystery gift that you can do right now, and you'll just get yourself a free Mew. And each one, like, comes with a different Terra type and, like, different, different stats and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool, right? You're gonna get, like, a unique Mew from this event, no matter what, if you go and claim it now. And then there's going to be a Mewtwo raid from September 1st to the 17th, and that'll be how you can go and get your hands on Mewtwo as well.
Nice.
Had a cool
Pretty
little
cool.
cinematic, very reminiscent of, like, the first movie too.
Yeah, I actually like that a lot.
Yeah,
This
that was fun.
piece of news just spoiled for me yesterday.
Oh
'Cause I was
yeah.
simply trying to find the time when the presents was happening today, and someone just straight up said it in a tweet,
Oh my
and
god.
so I was like, "Oh, okay, so I'm gonna know this going in. This kinda
What a
seems to be the
bummer.
big thing they're putting, like, a like, the marketing for the presents was, like, purple." So, I'm like, "Alright." But I actually still enjoyed the reveal, and I'm very excited to play, have Mew on my team, and then the Mewtwo fight is gonna be so hard, but,
Yeah.
it'll be a nice challenge.
Yo, but, like, this gave me the same vibe too, where I'm like, "Can we get a cinematic like this in the game? Like, this is so cool." You know?
I
Y'all
know.
have it. Let's bring it all together, you know?
Yeah, imagine going back and giving all of the past mainline games that same treatment with cinematic sequences,
That'd
like,
be so
in, like,
cool.
Diamond and Pearl, when you go up to the Peak of Mount Sinnoh, that would be so sick. Or Mount
Yeah.
Coronet,
I
yeah.
I'm, like, so interested to see what they do with remakes in the next couple years because it's like, uh, it feels like they're overdue for certain generations to, like, get some love, you know? And
Yeah.
it's like, obviously, like, how many times do we need to remake the same games over and over again? But, like, they're not playable, right? Like, you'd think that they would either put them on NSO or do something, right? Like, we'll talk more about
We can get
NSO.
into
We'll talk more about NSO in just a
that.
second. But before that, let me remind you that this episode of Nintendo Noise is brought to you by our Patreon producers for the month of August. They are, of course, Arnold J. Rimmer, Christopher Valenz, Earth Visitor, Gabriel Hasselmeyer, aka Asobi Snackago, Ty the Dude, and Waka Hula. Thank you all so much for your support over on patreon.com/flipscreengames. You're all the reals to the real, and we greatly appreciate your support of this and all of our sister shows. If you want to go check out some of the other content that we're making. If you want to go find all the ways that you can get involved with the community, whether that's writing in for the question block, whether that is going and getting the show early on Patreon, all that good stuff, head over to flipscreen.games. That's the website where you can find links to everywhere we are all over the web. Go click on some stuff. It helps us out. And guess what? It doesn't cost you anything. So go do that. Go click on some things and do the internet stuff. You know what to do. So we're back. Let's get into it. NSO. Sierra, we got 2 new Pokemon games coming to Nintendo Switch Online, and they're good ones.
Yeah.
You know? This is, it's I think it's not the like sexiest news, and I feel like we write it off when it's like, "Oh, cool, like a new game came to NSO," right? Like we're already paying for that. It is what it is. But I will say, these are 2 very cool games. Are they the mainline Pokemon games that everybody wants and is clamoring for? No, but I think that they are 2 of the best spin-off games that they could bring to the service, right?
I
I think
think
that's
this will get me to play the trading card game because I
you never
did
played
not
it.
play it as a kid.
Oh,
No.
yo. I'm really intrigued to see how you feel about it. I really loved it as a kid. I think it's one of the better games on Game Boy for sure, and, like,
Hmm.
it's one I definitely, will go back to every once in a while. I don't know, I guess, like, how you'll feel about it without any, like, nostalgia, because it's like it's an old Game Boy game of a trading card game, so it's kind of a slightly boiled down version of, like, the original rule set, but, like, it's a really fun game, and it's pretty hard.
Okay, interesting. Sick. I
Yeah,
mean,
I
Pokemon Stadium too, I'm jazzed.
yeah, I mean, that's huge, right? One
Yeah.
of our top 100 Nintendo games of all time.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, Stadium 2 is just a sweet one, right? Like mini games, right? Like obviously the ladder and everything is really fun. Like there's some legitimately tough Pokemon battles in there, if you're so inclined. I would love to see us get, maybe they bring the mainline games to NSO and you could like bring your save over and everything. Like that's
Yeah,
the
right?
dream. But until then, this is still cool.
I think we're never gonna get them.
You're
I just
probably
think
right.
at this point, like, I don't know, if it's just such a missed opportunity to boost NSO subscriptions, and
Yeah.
it's weird that it's been this long, like, when they've already, like, released so many titles on there. I th I think they're just kinda like, "Well, fuck y'all. Y'all are emulating the shit out of these games. You don't need us." But it's like, do you not want us to give you money? And
I
it's a
just like
lot of the sentiment a lot of people are feeling.
yeah, like and like when you think about when they re-released them on the 3DS, they had like the boxed copies and everything, and they like sold
Yeah.
well. It's like why do you hate money?
It's the conundrum of, Game Freak/ slash Nintendo, I guess. Maybe just Game Freak, Pokemon Company.
It just feels
I don't
wild
know.
to me to not make some kind of like retro collection, right? Like sell a $60 boxed copy that's like a limited release and has blue, red, yellow on it, then do another one with
Yeah.
gold, silver, crystal, right? Like do the
People more
Mario
than
All Stars thing.
Yes, exactly. People more than anything want convenience. So we've seen people will, pay for that if they really want something, but
Yeah, or like again, if it's like a collectible, like if it's like a
that's
moment,
new.
if you're like, oh, it's the anniversary of this or that, and we're re-releasing it, and it's a special, like people bite
Yeah,
on that stuff. That's how Amiibos took off, right? Where it's like, oh, I
exactly.
can't get that one anymore. I better buy every single one.
Yeah, like make it a timed release. I What they've shown us is that they can clearly emulate Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, and 64
Yeah.
Pokemon games. They're just choosing not to put them on there at this point.
At this point, right? It's like you can't get any closer to the mainline games than this stuff. Like we've
No.
run out of spin-offs at this point that are like
Yeah,
ones people care
exactly.
about, I think, right? Like
Yeah,
I can't think of any more that aren't already because like Puzzle League is already there, right? Snap is already there, right?
yeah.
The hell else you got?
Only thing are they waiting for the next console? I
Maybe. I
can't.
mean, I guess I could see that being a thing. Like maybe you wait until you really don't have cards to play because to your point, right? Like it could be a spike for NSO subscriptions. And maybe they feel like, well, we've got this, we've got that, we have these other cards to play. Like, let's wait for, we've put out a new console and excuse me, now we're spread thin because we're still trying to support the old Switch and market that. Excuse me. Sorry. And we're
Okay.
marketing the second one and trying to get games ready for that. And like you might hit that lull. And in the same way where they're like, N64 games are here, Game Boy games are here. And it's like a moment, it's an announcement that you can hang your hat on. And sure, maybe a lot of people, roll their eyes at it that it's not that big a deal, but like it matters to the folks it matters to. And it's a PR beat, right? Like
Yes. Yeah.
having that moment with any set of Pokemon games at all, ever, right? Like, is going to be a huge moment. Maybe they do want to save that and be like, well, when the Switch 2 comes out, we're making the expansion pack plus. And if you want to get Pokemon games, you got to, like
Plus,
whatever, right? Like,
plus.
who knows? But
Yeah.
I could see them trying to use that to generate momentum during a slow period. And right now, look how many freaking Pokemon announcements they had, right? Like we weren't that excited about them, but like, did they need another one today? Like,
Yeah, I know,
probably
right?
not. They had 30 minutes of nothing to get us through.
Mobile game players rejoice.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, it's funny, like this whole presentation, like, really drove home to me how many popular Pokemon mobile games there are that
I
like
know.
you could talk about them for like I have a section in the notes that we're driving up to. Oh, we could jump into it now. We'll jump around a little bit. With like all the mobile game stuff that they announced. And it's, if you count Pokemon Unite, which is like it's on mobile, but it's also on Switch, whatever, right? Like, we'll count that
Yeah.
in there. There's what, 5 different games that have active bases, right? Like we have Pokemon Go, which is getting the Palladia, not the whole decks, but right, Pokemon from the Palladian decks are coming in September.
Yeah.
Pokemon Unite is getting a new mode called Panic Parade, which is basically a like kind of like tower defense mode almost, where like
Mhm.
you have a Tinkaton and you and your teammates are protecting it from the enemy team. So it's less about scoring points and more about that kind of like base defense, type thing.
Yeah.
And then Mewtwo joining the roster on the 17th, just a couple days away, and has a cool twist of being able to like mega evolve into either of its forms, which like both have unique styles of play, which is pretty cool. Pokemon Masters EX, which is a game I constantly forget exists. I'm
Yeah.
never tried it. It's like one of the only ones I never even gave a shot. And like here it is, right? It's like entering its, I think, 3rd or 4th year, they said. I was like, "Are
Still
you kidding
going.
me?"
I know. I don't know a single soul who plays this.
Me
Like, no
neither.
one. And I'm on Pokemon Twitter. Like, I'm not connected with as many people as it maybe could be, but, like, none of the diehards I know are playing this
No.
game.
I think literally the only person I've ever heard talk about it is the YouTuber, Tamahiro, who's, like, a Pokemon YouTuber, and, like,
Uh,
I remember her talking about it when it came out, but I don't know that she's still playing it
Never
now,
again.
right? Like, but, like,
Yeah.
obviously people are. You don't make it to a 4th year without having a base, so
Right.
crazy.
Yeah.
But it speaks to the strength of the brand, right?
Mhm. Yeah,
But
totally.
Nimona and Palmot are gonna be coming. They're the first Palladian duo. And then they had Victor, who's the male player character, I guess, like that's his base name. And then Spectrier. I don't know how to say this one. There's so many of these Pokemon that I just have never had to say out
That's a
loud.
Pokemon?
Yeah, it's the ghost horse. It was the it was not DLC, I guess, but it was
Oh,
added post main game. Is one of those guys, you know? Like
I
Volcarona
remember
was like
now.
that, you know, where it's like, oh yeah, like the game's out. Here's a new legendary. It just came out.
Ah, yes.
One of
I
those dudes.
remember.
So yeah, he's coming on the 16th, but Nimona and Palmot are available today. So, and also, I would love to ask this question: if you're playing Pokemon Masters EX, like Trendy Brendy, are you playing Pokemon Masters EX? Do you play this game? Because I would love to hear about it. Is it worth it? Should I check it out? Now, here's one. The last time we did one of these Pokemon Presents, I was like, nobody cares about this. You play Pokemon Cafe Remix, right?
Yeah,
Is
I
it good?
haven't
Should I get
lately.
this? Should I pick this up? What's the
I
vibe?
think it's fun. It's just a fun, mindless game, and the
Okay.
illustrations are the art style is very cute. It is very adorable. Everyone gets a hat. It does not matter how big and scary you are. Giratina gets a little hat. Bulbasaur gets a little hat. Togetic gets a little hat. Like everyone has a beret. So funny.
Are you gonna go
um,
pick up this Tatsugiri? Like, is
yeah,
what's the
I
vibe?
want to. I
Yeah,
want to. I gotta try to carve time, but I want to.
it starts today. You got until the 19th. So
Thank God. Oh, I got a long car
yeah, you got
ride
some
on
time.
Thursday.
You got some time.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect, perfect. That'll be
Yeah.
that'll be a great time to grind that out.
Yeah.
And here's one. Here's another one. You did this, right? You booted up Pokemon Sleep, right? I don't think we've had a chance to
Yes.
talk about it. Are you playing Pokemon Sleep?
Nar.
You're not Pokemon sleeping?
It my phone was a hot potato. I woke up and it was like 900 degrees
Burning
and the
you?
battery, yes, scorching, and the battery um like it had like nearly depleted even though it was plugged in all night. And I was like, "Oh, it's going to be one of these things, isn't it?" So, I did one more night and I was just kind of like, "I'm not feeling this." And I never opened it again. I If I continue to play that, I'm getting that stupid plus plus because I don't want my phone is already a ancient brick. I have a Google 5, Pixel 5, which should not be that old, but it is. So I would rather use an external device and not ruin my phone any further than I personally already have.
Fair enough. So it's getting a good sleep day event, which increases drowsy power, which will occur on nights with a full moon.
I
So there you
love
go.
that.
Keep on Pokemon sleeping, kids. Maybe I'll give this a shot. My sleep is not good. Maybe Snorlax can help me out.
Yeah. You can shiny hunt too.
You can? Okay. All
Oh, you
right.
didn't know about this?
No.
You
No.
can get shinies
I'm
in
out of the
this
loop on
game.
Pokemon sleep. You know, so I gotta get some shinies then.
There you go.
All right. So, jumping into the animation side of it, we talked a little bit about the Palladian Wilds one, right? Which is it's like what it sounds like. It follows a bunch of like students at Palladia Academy, and they're off going and doing their their adventure for the year thing.
Mhm.
These shorts are great. You know, if you've not checked out any of the like animated stuff that the Pokemon official YouTube channel has, like you're missing out. There's like the Generation series. There was the Origins.
Origins.
Yeah,
So
Origins is
good.
fire. I don't think
Oh,
it's on their YouTube channel anymore. I was
I
trying to
saw
find
it
it a while ago,
recently.
and I feel like it might be on the Pokemon TV app now, which you can get on
Oh,
Switch. But
okay.
check it
At
out.
least it's somewhere
Yeah.
important.
It's like a 4-episode miniseries that just tells the story of Red and Blue. It's so good. So good.
Yeah,
So yeah, this
agreed.
is one to look forward to. And it's coming out in about a month, September 6th. So
Mm.
tune in. So then one of the new announcements they had was a series called Pokemon Path to Peak, which is it feels like the most meta thing imaginable.
I
In
was
that
tripping so hard because it looked like a Pixar short.
it does have that flavor to it a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's I would show you the trailers, but I feel like this is the kind of thing they'll copyright strike me for whatever reason. You
Mm,
can video games are fine, but animation is like, I don't know about that. So well, you go check it out for yourself. But it it follows a young girl who discovers that she is very good at the Pokemon trading card game and wants to, go become the very best. But it seemingly, I feel like it takes place in the world of Pokemon, right? Or am I wrong?
I could not tell. I got the sense it wasn't. It was like
Okay.
a
Cause
Digimon Tamers type thing where it was like,
okay,
they
okay.
they love Pokemon in the universe, but, like, there were those battle sequences, so
Yeah,
I
because
don't
like
know.
I think you're right, actually, now that I'm piecing it together. Because I remember them saying, and her partner Pokemon or her partner Oddish or whatever. And I was like, so she has a Pokemon, but does the trading cards. Okay, so it's in universe. But then it was in one of those battle sequences where they showed the Oddish, and I'm like, okay, so I guess that's not the case. But that feels way weirder to me. The idea that you have like a partner Pokemon in the trading card game and that it would be Oddish. Oddish
Yeah.
is not a good card, right? Like this isn't like a Yu-Gi-Oh! Heart of the Card situation. You got to use the good cards. Can't be
Yeah.
teaching these kids to play off meta.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No trash. No trash allowed.
But this is going to premiere ahead of Worlds, which they talked a little bit about as well, right? This is the first one that's going to be taking place in Japan. Um, Dude, I want that Pikachu plush where he's eating the ramen or whatever it is.
I
Like,
know, that
it's
was
so
so
cute.
cute.
The little
Yeah.
tongue out and everything was like, "Oh my god. Why is
And
this
gets all
only
the
at the
good stuff.
event? Sell it at the Pokemon
Yes.
Center."
One day. One day, maybe the US will get nice Pokemon merch.
Yeah, it's like n Chewy was so close too, right? Like, he just was in Japan. He's gonna be on the show next week to talk about his trip to Japan. I'm like, "Bud, you coulda pushed this back. You coulda gone to Worlds. You were this close,
True.
buddy. This close."
Yeah.
So now here's another one. I'm interested because I know you're an anime fan. Pokemon Horizons. So this is the new show. This is the new like main series, right? That's like replacing the Ash and Pikachu adventure now that that's wrapped up. And it's already been out in Japan for a while. Like you can check out dubs of it, I think already. I'm not dubs. Sorry. Showing my anime casualness.
You're
These
good.
subs. You can watch it with subs. But they had an English trailer for it, right? Like they didn't give a date, but gives you the sense that maybe it's imminent, right? Like if they're already talking about it. Is this something that interests you at all?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna like it. I'm gonna give it a chance. Um, I always wanted, like, a new or different secondary anime to the Ash and Pikachu storyline. I don't
Yeah.
know that I wanted it to completely replace it, but I'm totally going into it with an open mind. And I just, like, I noticed that they stepped up their game in the Journey series, like Ultra Master Journeys, etc. So, I'm really excited to see, um, kinda where the animation studio takes this storyline, and I think it's gonna be great. Uh, yeah, I'm excited.
I'm pretty interested in it myself. Like I started watching the like original series again this year. Yeah, this year. Like when I don't know if it was like when it came to Netflix or if I just finally jumped into it or whatever, but
Yeah.
my wife and I had been watching it like off and on and we're probably about halfway through it now.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's got 4 badges. So we're about you get to that mid period where they're like, "Okay, we gotta do some filler," Like, we gotta pad
Yeah.
this bad boy out a little bit. Let's evolve some Pokemon. Let's, we'll do some shenanigans.
Yeah.
So we're kinda, like, in that era with it now. Um and, like, I had that moment of, like, "Is the newer stuff worth watching?" Like, I kinda would like to have more when this is over, and I'm with you where, like, I'm into the idea of, like, trying to jump on with something new, because like, the few times that they've teased what that could feel like have been stuff I really liked, like, we talked about the Origin series. I would love for them to commit to something like that that is, like, a little bit more, um like, a little closer in tone to what, like, the manga was like the
Yeah.
original manga, where it's, like,
Yeah.
not, like, gritty, but, like, it's a little darker, it's a little less sugary, you
Yeah,
know?
less kitty.
Yeah, and it's, like,
Yeah.
more of an action series than a comedy,
Right.
because like, that's kinda the vibe of the original show, right? It's like, it is that, like, variety hour type, like, there's comedy, there's action, there's, they pull at the heartstrings sometimes, like, I would love something that was a little bit more, like, less episodic, more procedural like that, like, it is, like, we're driving towards something, and having that
Absolutely.
sense of, like, you know building the team and evolving the Pokemon and getting the badges and like going through that kind of more, like tight narrative. That was such a fun series, and I've always wanted them to try something like that again. And like in Origins, oh, I forget what it's called, but there's this one Origins episode about this young girl who like really wants to become a trainer, and she's like just a little too young, and like her father and mother were both like really like
I loved that one, yeah, her
like she
father
gets
was
the
a champion and
Nidoran.
had the Charizard.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
The really old Charizard,
Yeah,
oh.
and he's like so lazy, but then like he helps her like stop the Nidoran's parents come. There's like this big conflict and everything.
Yeah, the
Like
big clash.
it's so cute, and it's like it's so wholesome, and like it nails all the stuff emotionally. I think that works for Pokemon, right? Like that sense of like like adventure, and like, that like she goes and gets all the items, and she goes out to try to catch the Pokemon, and there's this like sense of failure and then triumph, and like then like you cut to the end where like she's off on the adventure, and like he's evolved into the Nidorino, and you're like, "Oh, like I was like, "Oh my god, I would love more of this." Like,
Yeah, just more emotional depth than, like, what and I'm not saying that it was bad at all, but, like,
no.
what the Ash Ketchum, like, that legacy
It's just we got
has
that for so
left.
long.
Right.
Like, do something different. And I think it's again, it speaks to a frustration I have with the Pokemon Company not doing a better job of um like serving the multiple audiences that they've cultivated, right? Cuz like they
Mm,
know that there's a contingency of old fans that would gravitate to something that is, and it doesn't have to be like adult, right? Like just like that's not a comedy, like, Saturday morning cartoon style thing that's aimed at kids, right? That, like,
right.
sure, maybe an adult can enjoy as well, but, like, something that is more akin to, like, um, even like a later, like, like something like My Hero, right? Which is, like, aimed at
I was gonna
teens, but
say, like, Demon Slayer can be very
great,
graphic,
great
but
example.
kids love it.
Yeah.
So but, like, I guess Pokemon just, like, I don't know, clutches their pearls at the thought of a little
A
boy.
little bit, yeah. But, like, I feel like if you dialed into, like, the tone of Origins, right, or, like, there is that fight, like, with the Squirtle and the Charmander with, like, the bite, and it's, like, very, like, "Oh, this is, like, kind of intense." It's, like, a little violent,
Yeah,
Like, it's not the cartoonish kind of violence that you think of from the Ash and Pikachu stuff, right? Where it's
right.
like Pikachu like gets in a fight and he like kicks Cubone's skull around and it spins, right? Like
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
silly and
Little more
cartoony.
slapstick.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like high stakes, right? Whereas like
Mhm.
I could see something that was a little closer to that in tone. And again, that like feels like the original like Pokemon Adventures manga, right? Where it's like uh, there's this one panel from that lives rent free in my brain of just like a Gyarados like coming out of the water, and it looks so monstrous and scary, right?
Mm.
And like Pokemon used to have that flavor a little bit where it was like, yeah, some Pokemon are scary, right? Like,
Right.
yeah, like Pikachu's cute, like there's tons of cute, friendly Pokemon that you would want to be buddies with, but there's some that are like, like this thing's a fucking monster and it would eat you if
Yeah,
it could, right? Like,
unfuckwithable, yeah.
and like I would love something that, played with that a little bit more.
Absolutely. I feel like they're with these miniseries, they're, like, getting your like feet wet, dipping your toes in to, and that's like kind of like their more, you know, experimental creative outlet to do
Yeah.
these things. Maybe like the main anime is just like this is Saturday morning like for kids and babies, fun cartoon, and it's always going to be that way. But like if there was ever a resource to simultaneously have an anime like full on like 25 episodes, something a little more grown up, I think a massive amount of people would love that.
Yeah. But either way, I'm with you with Horizons where, like, I'm interested in it. I like the idea of, like, having a clean slate and doing something that, um, can kind of just, like, set its own tone and its own pace and, like, its own rules and not have to either, like, follow the conventions of what came before or deal with the fact that it's not following the conventions of what came before, you know?
Right.
Like, that's such a benefit of Digimon that, like, each
Yeah.
era, it could reinvent itself and be like, "This is what it's about now," or, like, "This is what it's like now." Same thing with, like, Gundam and stuff like that, where it's like, like, we
Yeah.
can
Exactly.
take that same iconography and everything that you know and, like, put the pieces, shuffle them around, and tell you something that feels fresh, you know?
Yeah. Um Because, what was everyone's gripe with Ash? He was never a good Pokemon trainer. This is like, fresh start with Liko. Like, let's see what she can do. And hopefully the pacing of her character development is more pleasing over time.
Yeah.
And maybe she ages.
Yeah, like, that would be cool, like, that is such a and, like, I get it, right? Like, I get why IP does that shit where it's like, "We don't wanna change things because there's a status quo," but it's like,
My
it
thing is
gets
like
to
again in Masters, Pokemon Journeys or whatever, like time has passed and everyone is like significantly older or like has a kid. So it's like, where does Ash fit in that time paradox
Right.
of not aging, literally no acknowledgement?
Well, but, like and, like, it wants to, like, have its cake and eat it too, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, "Okay, so Ash is 10, and he hasn't aged, and the world has not moved forward, but also he's traveled the entire world and caught like, 100 Pokemon and, like, been involved in, what, 20 world-ending saving events," right? And it's
Oh,
like
yeah.
and that's all been a less than a year? Not even he hasn't even had a birthday.
Right, there's no way. There's no way because there's also the passage of time was also conveyed in those episodes, like, they just go to sleep or days pass or
Yeah, right.
whatever.
Totally. They like literally like think about this, right? In and now we're getting a ridiculous Pokemon timeline. This is comic book timeline compression shit. So I've got a lot to say about this nonsense. But think about this, Sierra. In the episode where Ash goes to get his Boulder badge from Brock, right? He asks him, "How long have you had that Pikachu?" And he says, "Oh, about 2 weeks, I guess." So you're telling me in the first however many episodes it's been 2 weeks and since then what? You're telling me was all of Johto like a month? Like what the
Yeah, that
fuck?
is a good point. Oh my god, I forgot about that.
It's wild.
Well, it's all in the past now. It's over. It's over now. Can't
It's
do
all over
anything
now. You're
about
right.
it.
So, we jumped to the mobile thing, and we skipped a game, and we'd be remiss to not talk about it at all. So we're gonna close things out by
Oh,
talking about Detective Pikachu Returns.
ah, yes.
This is a wild one because we got another like full brand new trailer, and it was a lot of new footage, but it provided like no new information.
It was like, here's 9 characters, and then a little bit about how you play the game.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
Yeah.
I I don't know what to make of this like game and this franchise. Like, it's so weird to me, and I wanna ride with it just because it's such a goofy fucking idea, but also I'm like, who said yes to this?
I
It's like, how
I
how did we
know.
get here?
I never really thought about that even when we got the movie. Why is Pikachu a detective?
That is the most truly, truly baffling, unhinged decision to me in the history of media. That the first live action Pokemon movie, when Pokemon has existed for multiple decades at this point, worldwide phenomenon, not Ash Ketchum, not no gym battles, none of the catch 'em all, nothing. None of the stuff that you know Pokemon for at all. And instead, it's based on Detective fucking Pikachu, a 3DS game that was like, I don't know, 4 years old or something when that movie came
Yeah.
out and has like a 70 on Metacritic. Like, why? How did that ever happen?
I remember searching at the time to try to get answers, and I feel like I found none.
They were like, you know what? Talking Pikachu, that'll sell. People will love it.
I think that's what it is. They went for Chugi in camp, and
I mean, it worked.
yeah, it did. I
Like,
mean, I liked it,
yeah, it's
but
a cute kids movie, right? Like,
yeah,
it hits
yeah,
that bar of like, it's an enjoyable kids movie, and if you are an adult that is nostalgic for Pokemon, like, you'll have those moments of like, "Wow, so cool." Like, just like that opening shot of, like, Rhyme City and everything, and you just see all the people walking around with their Pokemon, just, like, riding the bus and stuff. You're like, "Oh, it's" you
yeah,
know?
right. Maybe they feel like this is like the easiest target as opposed to like a rich ecosystem and like a whole region where they have to depict
Yeah.
like bring to life a bunch of gyms that we've only, you know, I don't know. So
And I guess you have to commit to, like, a series that way, right? Whereas, like, this is, like, you could make it a one-off movie, and it's like, cool, if it works, it works, if it doesn't, it doesn't. Whereas, like,
yeah,
if you were gonna do, like, a gym, story or whatever, that would have to be at least, 2, 3 movies or whatever, right?
yeah, exactly. So I guess I don't know. Detective Pikachu is a bit.
Like, that it's so weird to me that it is. Like, it is a bit, and they're like, "Yeah, no, no, this is just like a meme game, and we made it. Play it." Okay.
um, yeah,
Do you see yourself trying this? Like, is this a thing you could like?
I'm
Are
gonna
you
do it.
interested at all? Is this a thing you'd play on stream for the gag of it?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
okay.
Read for filth.
Because like
I just
I'd watch you play it. Like that seems
okay.
appealing to me. I don't know if I want to play it, but like
Right.
I'd watch you like
Like, it's
joke
fun to
your way
share
through
with
it.
friends.
Yeah, like that sounds
Um,
appealing.
are detective things is that, like, a motif in, like, Japan? Like, in, like, media, like, video games? Are there a lot of detective games?
I don't
Are they
know.
just crazy about this this
Like
theme? Like, I don't know.
I don't know. I guess like now that I'm thinking about it, like there's obviously like Professor Layton and Phoenix Wright, like, not a detective, but you're
Like a
solving
lawyer, yeah.
yeah, but, like, you're still solving cases, like, you're collecting evidence and stuff, right? So it's like it's the same thing, kind of. Maybe,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess. Like, it's interesting.
I'm just yeah, like you said, it's just like a 3DS ass looking game.
I did write that in the notes.
That's so funny.
And, like, that's
Fine. We
this
can't all get
game
Bandai Namco to work on these. Take what we can
you're right. But, like,
get.
I don't know, Sierra. This like franchise keeps me up at night because it's like it was this one 3DS game that was like mid reviews. They adapted into a movie. They announce a port of the original and a sequel, and then they don't talk about it for like 4 years. Steve brought this shit up like every fucking Pokemon Presents for like the last 5 years. It feels like I'm like, when are they gonna show Detective Pikachu 2? They announced it, and then they just never talked about it again. And then it comes out of nowhere. They show us like 3 trailers for it, and they're like, what if we put it out in the busiest fall of all time? Would that be good for you? I
Is
don't
this
get
what
it.
you wanted, Steve? Narrowcasting to Steve. Hey, Steve. Here's your Detective
We heard
Pikachu
you,
sequel.
Steve. Detective
We
Pikachu
see
2.
you, Steve, and we hear you, Steve.
This is what you needed, of course, in this, the year of our Lord 2023, maybe the most stacked year in video game history. We're like, what if Detective Pikachu returned?
Well,
Okay. Okay, Pokemon Company. I see you. I don't always understand you, but I do see you.
yeah.
So final thoughts on this one, Sierra? Because somehow we talked about this nothing burger for an hour, so I think we'll call it here.
Yeah, half of this could have been tweets, but thanks for the nice, morning presentation, everybody.
Yeah, right. At
It
least,
was a nice watch while I ate my breakfast.
it's funny because I started watching it on my phone, and I was like, "Oh, I better get down to the TV." And then I was like, "You know what? I could probably watch this on my phone. They don't got a lot for me here,
Yeah.
huh?"
Yeah.
But at least it gave us something to talk about today, so I'm happy for that. At least
Yeah, absolutely.
they didn't screw us over by being like, "We'll do it on Wednesday." Right? They love doing that move to us.
Oh, yes. We love those.
So they heard us loud and clear. They're like, you know what? We're gonna give you Detective Pikachu 2, Steve, and we're gonna start doing these on Tuesdays. So thank you so much, Pokemon Company. We
Yes,
appreciate you.
thank you. Thank you for your service.
And I'm gonna say this: I put out the call for people to write in about this, and I'm pretty positive Trendy Brendy did, and I could not get into the email address for a technical issue. So I'm gonna apologize to you right now, Brendy, for that one. And if you have thoughts that I can bring up on next week's show, we'll talk about them then. All right, that's my promise to you. So if you want to write in about this or anything else that we've discussed on this or any other episode of Nintendo Noise, make sure you hit us up, questions at flipscreen.games. Or you know what, maybe for now, Pete at flipscreen.games, because I know that I'll get those emails while I wait for Steve to get me back into the other one. So give me that one. But of course, there's also our Discord. There's a bunch of other ways you can get in touch, show your support, or get the show early, or a bunch of other perks and goodies. And guess what? You can find links to all that and much more over on our website, flipscreen.games. Go over there, click on some stuff. It helps us out a whole lot. We thank you for tuning in for another episode of Nintendo Noise. For the crew, I've been Pete. She's been Sierra. We'll see you next week.